Good morning, traders. Richard here, a quick Ichimoku cloud chart market review of NVDA. What a nice rally. We're up 50% since rebounding from this cluster of cloud chart support levels here. If we look back at the daily here, did do previous updates. The situation now is that we rebounded as well from the standard line and turning line here, then managed to break through the cloud chart resistance, and now we have a nice strong rally above the cloud, back above the cloud, so that's bullish. And this comes soon after NVIDIA completed a three wave down continuation pattern here. One move down, second move down, third move down, got to support, and then we got the rebound. Now the upside resistance levels to watch out for. The first target was this one, top in the cloud here. We got through that. The next upside resistance target is this one. We now grinding through that one. It'll be interesting to see if we maintain momentum through that one or we come back to consolidate. And the next upside resistance target is this line here, that top end of the Ichimoku cloud, 139, 140 basically is the net upside resistance target. Now we've had quite a strong move off this move, and any kind of Fibonacci retracement could mean that if there's weakness in the stock price, we could easily see the retest of this top end cloud chart for support. But that's the new support zone for this rally, the front end of the cloud indicating a new bull rally. And also the important thing to note is the lagging line also sliced through the cloud chart resistance here. So we are now in a nice new bull market rally on the daily Ichimoku cloud with these upside resistance targets as the next profit targets, 140, and then the ultimate one would be these old highs here, would be the top one, those 153, as well as those zones there between 149, 148 and 153. These are the upside resistance targets. So there's still some room for NVIDIA to run back to retest these old highs. Going to have a little bit of overhead supply moving into this this base that used to be quite a nice strong base that faltered. So we should see some resistance coming back in here as these holders are selling out now because they had this huge drop in the price, so they're just willing to get out. And new buyers is now driving the market higher, NVIDIA higher, and these are the upside targets. So keep an eye on 133 if it will stay there this week. Then 140, basic 139, 140, and then the other upside targets is 150 and 153 on the daily Ichimoku cloud. Also remember that this top end cloud chart is now the new support zone, as well as these exponential moving average Fibonacci levels to come through for that particular move. Turning to the weekly. Now this strong rally rebounded from the bottom end of the cloud here. That was a fantastic area to be buying NVIDIA. It felt quite counterintuitive because we had a strong downtrend. And you can also see the three waves down, one wave down, pull back, one wave down, pull back, one way down, pull back. So that gave us a bit more confidence to take this trade at this bottom end cloud chart support zone. And look how the front end cloud chart support also provided some support there. Now we broke through the top end of the cloud, now battling past the 130 resistance zone. And then we've got these other resistance levels here, these old highs once again as the next upside targets there. Let me just put that one there. Very close to there, 150, 153 basically. These are the upside resistance targets. So now from a classic base breakout, this is a kind of a consolidation base on a weekly. So really the other buy point for the long-term breakout would be any breakout above this 155, 153. So we had quite a couple of buy points on the weekly Ichimoku cloud, but so far so good. Back above the top end of the cloud, that's bullish as well. And keep an eye on for 130 to be a new support zone, as well as this standard line of the Ichimoku cloud 119.87 is also a significant support zone. So these are big picture support levels, 130 and then 120 basically. That's the support range for NVIDIA on the weekly Ichimoku cloud. Turning to the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, more for the swing traders among us. So we had a nice rebound here. You can see that cluster of support there. Managed to zip right through the turning line and the standard line of the cloud, only to run into trouble very closely to the top end, bottom end of the cloud there, as well as that standard line there. Snapped back And then we got another cloud chart rebound buy, cloud cross buy there, another cloud cross rebound buy there, and then we can see how the turning line of the cloud provided the secondary entry points all the way to the upside there. We're now a little bit extended on the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, so watch out very carefully for any kind of a consolidation back to test this 125, and this is zone there at 122. That's the turning line and the standard line of the cloud. That's the new support zone with downside risk to this cloud chart support zone. So these are the downside risk levels, and then we've got the upside targets on the weekly and daily Ichimoku cloud that this rally can end up to. But so far so good. Beautiful cloud chart cross buy signal there on the 4-hour Ichimoku. So back to the daily, keep an eye out for the interaction here at 133, if that's going to be a new support zone there. 139's next upside resistance targets, and then we've got this 150, 153 as the ultimate upside targets in this current rally. Front end of the cloud is signaling a nice new bull rally in NVIDIA, with the standard line and the turning line of the cloud, they're going to level out for key support zones. So downside risk is 123, and then the top end of the cloud where the standard line is expected to a flat level there. But so far so good. Nice strong rally, and this is within any kind of long-term buy zone on NVIDIA. In terms of valuation, NVIDIA is definitely not a cheap stock. It's a very expensive stock. If you can see here, the PE ratio doesn't particularly rank in a favorable terms. None of these valuation ratios rank favorably in terms of a bigger picture on a global basis. But NVIDIA is the #1 player in its space, very got technology leadership, etc. What we like about it is the earnings quality is a percentile rank of 94, fits in the top 10% of the market. So the sustainability of the earnings is quite good. We look deeply into the balance sheet. We've got multiple factors, at least 8 major balance sheet items we look at and rank that and compare that to other companies. So it ranks very favorably on the earnings quality rank. The analyst revision score, that ranks in the bottom 10%, 20% of the market. So the analysts have not yet improved their numbers in terms of future earnings, etc. So there's a bit of a downside risk there. The short sellers are kind of out of the stocks. So it ranks very favorably there, and it's got very limited credit risk, and the balance sheet there is looking good. Insiders rank is 3rd percentile ranking down the bottom, so insiders are still selling a lot. And relative valuation rank, intrinsic valuation there, it's in the bottom 20% of the market there, so not particularly attractive on that basis. So we are looking at NVIDIA on its own, not really comparing it to the other players, because it's a very expensive stock, but it's certainly got technology leadership. So we'll see how this is going to pan out over the next couple of months and years. Now, what's interesting here is that the earnings, the best analysts covering the stock, they actually expect a slight earnings decline here, to miss the numbers there. So it will be interesting to see if the earnings has been pulled back a little bit, so they're not really expecting fireworks in the numbers going forward. So if there's any upside surprise there, the stock should rally on the back of that. Yeah, you can see how NVIDIA is comparing in terms of EV, EBITDA and margins and valuation there, compared to some of the other players in the same kind of sector there. But what's interesting is the return on equity here is 119%, very, very favorable compared to the 8.2% of the rest of the industry. Also got high margins, operating margin of 62% compared to the industry mean of 10%. So you can see they are just the leader in its space. Currently there's 34 buys, 22 strong buys, 7 hold and 1 sell on the stock. The average price target is expecting upside of 20%. But more importantly, if we look at the most accurate analysts covering the stock, and we're looking at the estimates forward, and we reverse engineer it with a discounted cash flow model, we can see that the market implied growth rate currently is for about 18% growth based on the current stock price. So despite this 50% rebound rally we've had, the current stock price, if you reverse engineer it, is telling you that the market's expecting, or the market's implying, about 18% growth over the next couple of years in terms of earnings in the stock as well. So you can see there's still quite favorable, above average growth there, so still a very good good position there. But all in all, earnings quality good, valuation momentum is a little bit on the bottom side personal ranking, because we're not really looking at from a relative valuation perspective. We're looking at it on an absolute basis at this stage. So there's still some upside in NVIDIA on that basis, but do know that on a relative valuation basis there is still some downside risk, purely because the stocks become, relatively speaking, compared to others globally, quite expensive. But it's a high quality business, so to speak. Back to the daily, keep an eye on this 133. Is this resistance zone going to hold as new support? 139 is the next upside target, and then we've got 150, 153 to look out for. Downside risk, first stop here is 123, where we've got the turning line of the Ichimoku cloud, as well as the bottom end of the front end of the cloud. So that's kind of the scenario. These are the downside targets, and that's the downside risk targets, and that's the upside targets. Then when we get to this point, we really then need to see a breakout out of this entire consolidation base, but we'll recap that when we get there. But so far so good. Keep an eye on these levels. Until next time, happy cloud chart trading. Bye for now.